What a beautiful morning it's shaping up to be here at Princess Island Park. We're kind of tucked away here, but we can actually see most of downtown Calgary along with the Center Street Bridge. And it feels like we're in the middle of nature as the soundtrack continues. Rochelle and I were joking about the birds singing, and it feels really like we're in the mountains, but we're right in the middle of downtown Calgary. Rochelle Haddock here with the Mistakis Institute and learning a bit more about our nation's animal, which is the beaver. So we actually have a beaver dam just over here that we can see. And now tell us a little bit about these dams and how they actually help water flow.
Yeah, certainly. So you can see the beaver den over there. Another thing that beavers do is build dams, and these dams help slow down water, which causes ponds to form behind these dams. And when those ponds form, the water slows down, any sediment drops out of the water, so beaver dams actually clean our water. On top of that, those dams allow beavers to act as water bankers. So for every 2 gallons of water that's held behind a beaver pond, actually 10 gallons of water is going to be stored as groundwater.
Interesting.
And that groundwater can be released later in the summertime when our rivers are starting to flow a little lower. And the water actually is cooler that's being released from the groundwater stores, so that helps out fish. We also have water when there's less water flowing in our rivers. And on top of that, as you can see, they create all sorts of habitat for fish and wildlife.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So in that way, they are an asset to us, but in some ways people could regard them as a nuisance. But here we have an example of how we can coexist in the same space.
Yeah, so there's all sorts of tools. Beavers can absolutely be a pest, and that's fair. They can clog culverts, they can flood roads, they can flood fields, but there are all sorts of tools that can allow us to coexist with beavers, like the fencing that we see here, which prevents beavers from cutting down important trees. There are also things like culvert protectors that can be built so that beavers won't dam up culverts and cause flooding, and even tools called beaver deceivers, which fool beavers into continuing to dam up a stream. So there's all sorts of ways that we can coexist with beavers and continue to enjoy all of the benefits that they realize for us in the landscape.
Okay, and what role do they play when it comes to predicting flooding and droughts?
Yeah, so beavers can help us, it's a natural way to help prepare for flood and drought. So with their beaver dams, they slow down the flow of water, they increase the floodplain to about 12 times. During a flood, they can reduce the flows by 5 to 15%. So they're really useful for floods, but also for a water scarce place like southern Alberta, they're really helpful for addressing drought and water scarcity, and that's through that water banking feature that they have.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting things we're learning here leading up to World Environment Day and Environment Week here in Calgary. And we're going to stick around here and stay on beaver watch. Maybe the beaver's going to wake up. We're going to wait.